This is Cali Cat Tap Talks, and I'm with Kelvin Abrams. So, Kelvin, tell us your story, but let's start here. Let's start with the real why. What lit the first fire in creating something of your own, and what kept it burning when times got hard?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on your show. I think my journey started when I was a young kid. I was always an entrepreneur, so I guess that's when I started my entrepreneurial career. Is selling toys out my window, selling candy at school, selling soda at school. So I was always a hustler. And then it continued by making money, hustling around the neighborhood, raking leaves, cutting grass, shoveling snow. So I was always some sort of a hustler because I wanted to get the newest fads, the clothes. And back then it was the fat shoestring Adidas and the suede Adidas and the Lee jeans with the crest down the middle, with Run DMC. So I had to go to Philly and New York to keep up with the trends. So you had to get a job because your parents were buying you those four stripe bobos in the supermarket. And so I didn't want to wear those four stripe bobos, so I kind of started my entrepreneurialism then. And what allowed me to continue is the struggle. I actually embraced the struggle, and I actually embraced failure because I failed several times throughout my life. I mean, high school and sports in high school and in grades and college education. I mean, I'm used to failing, and I'm just not a person that gives up. I like to continue my journey because I'm on this path in life that right now I'm going to I like to say my second part of my career, which is learn, earn, return is a model that I like to use. And right now I'm focusing more on returning, giving back. It's been a long, tough road for me as an entrepreneur, but I think as an entrepreneur, I think it's my duty to try to give back and help others. So that's my model that I like to go by: learn, earn, return. And so right now I'm working on that return part, giving back.
Yeah, and you have a book out there as well, correct?
I sure do. The book is called Get Uncomfortable or Change Course: Understanding What It Takes to Be an Entrepreneur. And that book I actually started writing in my head when I was 18 years of age. I just didn't know it yet. And it was during the pandemic that I kind of figured out what I was going to write about, and that was the struggle. During the pandemic, it was hard for everyone. And again, I knew I was going to write a book when I was 18. I just didn't know the subject. And then once the pandemic hit, that's a light bulb just went off. And a year and a half later, there it is: Get Uncomfortable or Change Course. We have a workbook edition with it as well. And then I also created an online course. Get Uncomfortable or Change Course is the name of it as well.
Wow, wow. That's it's just perfect because there's a lot of people right now out there. They need to get uncomfortable, and just to figure out and navigate life right now, especially when they're trying to open up a business. So, walk us through one of the toughest days you faced as a business owner. What happened behind the scenes that no one else sees but you, and how did you handle it?
Boy, I've had a lot of tough days, so that this is an easy question for me. I would just say the one of them would be is I had hip surgery. So unfortunately, I was diagnosed with AVN, avascular necrosis, and so I had to have total hip replacement. And so I had the hip replacement on Friday, walked out the hospital on Friday, and Saturday I had to work in this coffee shop where I'm at right here. I had to work
Really?
because no employees were around. So right, exactly. So as painful as it was, I'm down here hobbling around on the counters, holding myself up, and working. And I worked for 4 hours, and then of course I went back to bed and laid down. But yeah, I had no help because unfortunately it was during a tough time where people just weren't working, and it was during the pandemic, and or we were coming out of the pandemic, I think, and people weren't back willing to come back to work.
Wow, that's true dedication. The people
Oh,
are
that's
willing
not
to
the only one.
go to your place to drink some of that whiskey of those barrels I see up there, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
I'm gonna
that's
throw a
our
little
bourbon
twist on
club.
you. Yeah, yeah. So, which one is your favorite up there?
So my favorite whiskey is Uncle Nearest. It's an African American owned company, Fawn Weaver and her husband Keith Weaver own it. They're located in Shelbyville, Tennessee, and it's the number one winning African American whiskey out there.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's awesome. Victoria Edie Butler has won 4 years in a row Master Distiller, and no other person has done that, but she has done that. And so yeah, Uncle Nearest is my favorite whiskey. I talk about it all the time. I introduce people to it all the time. I purchased my own barrel from Uncle Nearest, and I just love them. In fact, I'm going down there in August to Uncle Nearest in August. I'm bringing a friend with me.
All right. So you bring it back a barrel? Or you you'll
Don't
be
have
like,
that kind
I
of money
wish,
for a
I
barrel.
wish.
The barrels are a little pricey. So one is
All
enough for right now. One is enough.
right. So people see the fun in branding or the finished cafe, but what's something they never realize about running these kinds of business?
Oh boy. So everyone starts off with a perfect plan, including I. Everything's perfect. We think it's going to work out right. And then all of a sudden, something's wrong with the contractor. You get into the wall and you got mold. You get on the floor and the floor is uneven. So you got to pour concrete. Things don't fit. Health department, dealing with the health department, dealing with county politics. Yeah, so I mean, there's a whole bunch that goes behind the finished product, and quite frankly, I like that aspect of it. I really like starting business, and I like that challenging aspect of it because you get through it, and it just keeps you on your feet. Because every day there's a hurdle, and as long as you learn to continue to jump across that hurdle, I think you get better and better at it. But no doubt, this is the finished product. But boy, let me tell you, it was rough. It
It was rough. So
was rough.
basically, it's like navigating some tough seas, going through the politics, as you were saying, and just learn. So, do you have a book or something like that on how to navigate and deal with the issues that come across of starting a business and dealing with the city and getting that on? There you go. Get uncomfortable or change course.
So I do have
All
a book.
right. I know you
but
do.
but
But
what
what
I
does being uncomfortable actually look like in practice, and why is it essential for growth?
well, that's awesome. Great question. So being uncomfortable is doing the things that you don't want to do. Everybody wants to be a business owner, and everyone wants to say, "Here's my business card. Give me a call. I'm the CEO. I'm the COO, or whatever." And of course, everyone thinks you get to make your own hours and you get to eat lunch and take vacation whenever you want. That's the glory side of being an entrepreneur or a business owner. But the get uncomfortable part is the part where you have to sacrifice and the part where you give up. You give up a paycheck for a period of time. You give up your time. You give up your holidays, your weekends, your family, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your significant other. You give it up. The movies, the golfing, the outings, and you just give it up because of the fact that you have a journey that you're on, and that journey is more important than the temporary happiness with a vacation or the temporary happiness with a girlfriend or a movie, watching a movie. That journey becomes more important. And that's what it's about, getting uncomfortable or change course. Being an entrepreneur is not for everyone. There are many, many, many hard days and long days and days, quite frankly, where you just don't want to get out of bed. But that's where the tenacity comes in. And that's where you know if you're made to be an entrepreneur or not. And if not, get uncomfortable or either change course. So that's what the change course portion of it is maybe it's not for you and get a 9 to 5.
Yeah, I fully understand that. So, with the entrepreneurship can feel like controlled chaos. So, how do you separate what's urgent from what's truly important when you're in the middle of it all?
Wow, another great question. So everything on my list is a priority, right? So I have several small businesses, right? And so every business has a priority list. And so basically I just kind of put the priority list all together, close my
Uh-huh.
eyes and point. And whatever I point at that day, that's what I get accomplished. Well, no, seriously, you have to be organized. And so I do take my priority list and I kind of put the priority on top of the priority. And so that's what I work on first. And so generally the first thing is trying to pay bills, number one, pay your employees, pay bills, things like that, keep the lights on in the building. Number two will be returning emails. Emails are very important because they could be potential leads, returning phone calls or text messages. I mean, any given days, there are days when I have 30 or 40 emails that come to me in a day. And it's difficult to get to those emails. And that may not seem like a lot, but to me it is when I'm trying to run three small businesses, in addition to being interviewed for podcasting, in addition to working on a second book that I'm working on. So, my days are very long. I mean, I usually pull about 18, 19-hour days, sleep for about 4 or 5 hours, and do it all over 7 days a week. And again, that's the portion where I sit back and tell people, get uncomfortable, get used to being uncomfortable or change course.
Yeah, that's great. So, what book are you writing?
So can't tell you the name of it because it's going to be underneath a pseudo name because a few of my family members didn't like the first book that I wrote. They thought it was a little too honest. So this time around, to save face with everyone, this time around I'm going to write the book in a pseudo name, and I haven't given a name or the title out to anyone.
Okay, okay, all right. Not even on this podcast, huh?
Not even on that.
Hey, man, I tried. I definitely tried.
You tried.
Okay. Can you share a moment where you completely failed and what changed because of it? And what did failure teach you that success never could?
Boy, a time that I completely failed. Again, there are plenty of times that I failed. In business, let's start with business. Let's see. Though when I started my business 2008, that was when Obama came into the office, and that was the housing crash of 2008. And so within being in business the first year, I almost filed bankruptcy. So that would have been a time that I potentially failed because I almost filed bankruptcy because of the economy. My house went into foreclosure three times between 2008 and 2009. And so that was a big failure. And I was not making a paycheck during that time for 2008, 2009, and going into 2010. So unfortunately, that was a big failure for me. And I've learned from it. And I'm still here. 17 years later, I'm here.
That's good. So you learned to basically, as I said earlier, navigate through the heavy seas coming your way. So
Yes.
you learned to go through that. For
And it's
someone
about
starting,
pivoting.
it's about pivoting and learning. Taking lots of notes. Some people
Yes.
don't take notes, right? So you're writing books. Maybe I'll get out of you the name of that second book you're writing. But you're writing books, but it's about taking notes and writing down sometimes your mental notes when your mind is clear.
Yes. I get up
Okay.
all the time in the middle of the night and write notes. I mean, I think I'm a creative person by nature. And sometimes I just can't sleep in the middle of the night. My brain just doesn't stop. It just keeps spinning. And so a lot of times I have to reach for a notepad, write a little note, or write down what I'm thinking. Sometimes I get out of bed and I actually start typing and writing down what I'm thinking to get it out of my head so I can go back to sleep. So that's how I try to be creative and continue with my creativity, I should say. And that's how I get it out of my head so that I can rest, because my head really hurts a lot of mornings when I wake up because my brain has been dancing all night long to some kind of party that I wasn't invited to.
It's your own party with those whiskey barrels in the back, man.
That's right. But they forgot to send me the invitation.
Oh, for someone starting a business today, what's one truth they need to hear, even if it's uncomfortable?
Don't do it. I would say stay far away from it. Don't do it. No, the one truth that they have to hear is that it's your journey. It's not your husband, wife's journey, boyfriend, girlfriend's journey, cousin, mother, brother, uncle journey. It's your journey. And with that said, you're gonna get a lot of resentment. You're gonna get a lot of pushback from family and friends, not because they're trying to do it maliciously, but they care about you and they worry about you and they don't want to see you through all the struggles and the stress that you have to go through and that you will go through. And so the pushback is the difficult part that I found for being in business. Speaking personally, is the pushback. And eventually, you stop getting invited to go to these things, and it's, a little upsetting and frustrating, but you understand the reason why. When you stop showing up to family events and you stop showing up places, eventually people stop asking you because they know the answer is going to be no, I'm too busy. I'm working on my business. But they just don't understand the journey. And for me, the journey is much more important than a short lived vacation or a short lived, birthday party, even though that's very important as well, because every day we get older, we don't get younger every day. So, and we're not guaranteed tomorrow. But yet and still, this journey is mine and it's mine alone. And, I'm seeing this thing to the end. I'm seeing it through.
Yeah, because the journey never ends. I mean, the journey comes with failure, success, and more success, and then
Yes.
it comes also with a legacy, which we'll talk about later.
Yes.
So, you're just building your legacy. Um,
Yes.
that's how I see what a journey is.
Yes.
So, you worked in a pet care, fitness, coffee, and bourbon, and yeah, I see that you have your own speakeasy in the back. What's one universal skill or mindset that's helped you cross all those ventures?
The mindset of this unwavering belief that I will be successful. Growing up, we were middle class. Towards the last couple of years, we had it difficult in high school. And so we went through some difficult times. And, that right then and there, that's when I say I knew I was going to write a book when I was 18. Right then and there, I knew it changed me. And I knew I was going to be this person that I am today, which is a person that's going to, have unwavering faith in myself. People in the past have let me down, family, friends, whoever have let me down. And so the one person I know that won't let me down is me. And so I have this unwavering belief and faith in me, in myself, and that this journey is just, I'm in the middle of my journey and I have a ways to go. But I think the most important thing is just believing in yourself and having strength in yourself. And then difficult times, I turn to reading books. I turn to reading scriptures in the Bible. There's this one book by David Goggins that I love. It's called You Can't Hurt Me. And in there, David Goggins talks about taking souls. And taking souls, to me, my interpretation of that is I'm going to take your soul if you try to take anything from me, if you try to get in my way, if you try to block me from complete my journey, I'm going to take your soul. I'm going to rip it out of your body and I'm going to take your soul because you're in my path. You're in my way. And so that's why I love that book by David Goggins, You Can't Hurt Me. And then there's another book I love reading by a doctor. Was it Lessons from a Eighth Grade Dropout? That's an awesome book as well too. And the moral of that book is basically to stand tall, stand strong. You don't have to say a word, but just stand tall. And that's what being an entrepreneur is about. It's just standing tall through the good, the bad, the ugly, and indifferent. You just got to stand strong and stand tall.
You know, that's a great concept because nowadays people are they say that there's so many jobs out there right now, right? And people are applying for them, but then they say they don't have the skill set. And now you got these college students that are coming out of college and applying for these jobs, and they're not getting them because they don't have the experience. They're not going to have the experience. So they need to stand tall and continue on. So that'd be a great book for them to read coming out of college so that they can understand they have a new journey ahead of them and they need to stand tall and stay strong
Yeah.
because somebody will find them and mold them. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I believe in
It's
that
tough.
concept.
It's tough, but today, unfortunately, most of the kids that I interview and I deal with when I'm interviewing for my jobs here is their expectations are just a little too high. Today, people don't want. Back in the day, we what we had to do to make money. If that means working two jobs, we worked two jobs. When I was in college, I had 4 part-time jobs taking 12 credits. You know, Today, it's not like that. Today, the people want one job to pay for their iPhone, their cars, their this, and that. and they don't want to work two jobs. And most of them want to be influencers on TikTok or Instagram, thinking they're going to make fast, easy money, but that's
Oh,
just
no,
not
that doesn't
life.
happen.
That's
That's
not
not
life. And then with all this Grubhub and Uber Eats and all of this stuff, people are hustling, but they're not understanding that they're not putting away a 401k. They have no retirement because that's basically a 1099 job that you're not building anything. You're not building any retirement. So when it comes to you being retired and you're looking for your retirement check, well, you're not going to have one. Why? Because you
You're not
spent
gonna
10
have
years
one.
working for Uber. So that I think there's this generation just a little different than how I grew up, and I'm more than likely assuming you grew up similar to how I grew up
Yeah.
in the sense of
Yeah.
hustling and working 2 and 3 jobs, and doing whatever it takes to get money in the pocket and pay the bills.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I don't even think some of them know how to change $100 bill.
That's right. Oh, I can tell you some stories about people asking how to break change. There's this one girl that I think it was like $3.75 back, and she asked me to break the change. And I'm thinking, you don't know how to count $3.75 back? And then she was in college. I think she was a junior. Oh man, yeah. So
That's funny. So, community seems to be the core to everything you build. Why is local connection so important in your business model, and how do you nurture it?
So I think community is important because all three of my businesses are right here and directly across the street from each other in this small little community here. And so throughout the 17 years of being in business, I've built a strong following. I like to believe a strong following here in my community. And I think the community supports me. Most of the community supports me, and I support them. And for the most part, there are a lot of small businesses that are right here. So we all try to help each other because everybody needs to make a dollar. And you may help one person out, they may turn around and help you out. So I think just nourishing the community, being active in your community, offering help to your community. I volunteer to do speaking engagements at the local library. I give my time to speak to kids about entrepreneurship. I bring kids in here to volunteer and get their community hours. In fact, today I just got approved through the state of Maryland for a 2-year apprenticeship program through the state of Maryland. So I'm happy and excited about that today. So I'll be working with a young student for 2 years as a mentor. The person is going to be an operations manager. And so basically, that's about teaching a person how to run a business. And I think I'm very qualified. I have 3 small businesses. And again, I'm an author and I've been in business 17 years here. So I think this mentorship program is, again, part of the process of learn, earn, return. This here is my return process of it. And I'm looking forward to continuing it.
Oh, wow. That's well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank
So
you.
let's talk pivots. What's the biggest shift you've made mid project or mid business? And what signs told you it was time to switch gears?
The sign was the bank account. The sign's the bank account. So the biggest pivot I would say is I'm sitting in it right here at this bar. So I've had the coffee shop for 11 years, and for the past almost 3 years now, I've had a alcohol license. And so the pivot came basically directly after the pandemic. People had changed their buying strategies. People don't go inside stores. People tend to just eat outside in their car, and people go to drive-throughs more. So much so, Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks basically increased their revenue by like threefold during the pandemic because everybody was going through drive-through. And so my coffee shop here, we were doing a pretty good business before the pandemic. After the pandemic, I don't have access to a drive-through, so we lost a lot of business here. And so, of course, I'm sitting here stewing around, figuring out what I can do next. And then an opportunity presented itself for me to get a liquor license. So I applied for it. 6 months later, I have the liquor license here. And I would say that's the biggest pivot because the whole process took me about $10,000 and almost about 8 months. So I invested a lot of money in that pivot. Generally, pivots that I do are just adding additional services here and there for my businesses or increasing something in my business. Because my personal belief is you should not change, but you should pivot every 2 to 3 years so you don't become stagnant. And so pivoting for me is nothing new, but the biggest pivot is this alcohol license because I've invested a lot of money in it. And currently, right now, I may have about $9,000 or $10,000 worth of alcohol in this building because the bourbon that we purchase here is all your high end spirits and your premium spirits like Uncle Nearest.
Wow. So name a couple of your high-end spirits.
Uncle Nearest.
Yeah, besides Uncle Nearest.
We have Whistle Pig. I
Oh, you
have
do have Whistle
Blanton's,
Pig.
Colonel Taylor. We have, let's see, Bob Dylan has a bootleg series that I just got that bottle. Let's see, Angel's Envy has a new Añejo, a French cast Añejo whiskey. So I have that. Westward, you name it. Dickles,
Wow. Well,
uh,
you got
um,
plenty.
Boss Hog, yeah, Boss Hog. I have Macallan. So yeah, we have a lot of good stuff here.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. So you're trying to,
127.
yeah, you're trying to switch me over from the beer lady to the bourbon lady, huh?
Bourbon lady, yes.
What's something small, maybe even boring, that you think actually determines whether a business will survive or fail?
Small, boring, or I gotta say, I think you stumped me, but let me think about this here for a moment. What's something small? Um, huh. Okay. Overall well-being. So something small as getting up, taking a shower, something small as getting up, taking care of mental health, whether it be working out, whether it be meditation, whether it be 10 minutes here and there listening to music. So what I like to do, and it may sound corny or boring or minute, but when I'm having a tough day, I usually sit somewhere out the window or look out the window, and I call it my boardroom. In my book, I call it I go to the boardroom. And so either I'll go to the boardroom and sit outside and have a cigar, and that's my 10 minutes or 30 minutes of relaxing and taking a mental break. So that's, very small, boring, and minute. It's not like I'm doing something crazy or anything like that. It's just I'm giving my brain a break. And I'm sitting out there doing something I enjoy, which is smoking a cigar. So I say, giving yourself 10 minutes a day or 20 minutes a day to do something that you enjoy to get your mind off of the monotonous, the rat race. So I think that's something that is kind of boring and overlooked at times, is just giving yourself 10 minutes. And again, whether it be taking a shower every day, whether it be washing your face, whether it be shaving, whatever it may be, personal health or well-being is trying to focus that for yourself every day. Because if not, believe you me, you'll burn out. And, I've been there, and I'm just now, probably over the last year or so, working on self-help and wellness. And every day I have certain things that I do. I have certain mantras that I say, and I meditate sometimes in the morning, and I get up and I say my prayers. And so I just is something I'm getting used to doing. But I was lost for many years because I was in a rat race and I was lost, but I'm getting better now.
Yeah, so basically, just staying focused and finding a way to put your mind at peace at any time of the day or
Yes.
week or month. So yeah, I fully understand that. I was doing that when I was at UPS. I
Yes.
was finding a way in my office. Lock the
Yeah.
doors.
Yeah. Many a days, many a
Yeah,
days.
many days, especially when those rainy days too.
Well, I'm out in the rain too, so I understand.
Yeah. And you're also in the heat like I am right now,
Yes, yes,
but in different sides of the of the states.
exactly.
What advice would you give to someone who's too afraid to take that first step because they think they don't have it all figured out? What advice would you give?
Jump. Simple as that. Jump.
Just take
Um,
that leap?
take that leap because entrepreneurs, we jump and we don't worry about a net because we know we'll figure it out on the way down. So the thing is I would tell someone to jump. Stop saying, there's this saying that goes should have, would have, could have. Frog had wings, he wouldn't bump his ass every time he jumped. So you sit back and you'll keep wondering and ifing and should have, would have, could have, and before you know it, you'll be 50, 60 years old, and life has passed you by. So the thing I talk about in my book, and the thing I like to say is that I basically one day got tired of saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. I kind of got tired of the perfect time, the perfect day. I don't have enough money in the bank, this and that. I got tired of saying that. One day I just looked at myself, and it ironically came the passing of my dog, Tiki. That's why I named the
Sorry to
business
hear that.
Tiki Playhouse after him. So I took it kind of hard. That was my first Weimaraner, and I lost him, and it was tragic, and I took it kind of hard. And at that point in time, I really wasn't happy with where I was in my career. And so I had started working on this business plan for Tiki's Playhouse way back when I was in college at Rutgers University. Life got in the way, and I put that business plan in the closet in the box somewhere down there. And one day, I just dusted it off, pulled it out, dusted it off, and started working on it. A year and a half later, I incorporated Tiki's Playhouse, 2017. And then I started working with SCORE, which is a organization through the Small Business Administration. I started working with a SCORE representative for about a year and presented to a bank. And the first bank I went to, I got approved for a loan. And 17
Oh,
years later, here I am.
you're still there. So, if you were to turn your life into a documentary, what would the title be? And what scene must be included no matter what? And don't tell me this is your second book you're trying to write.
Okay, I would tell. Okay, what would be the title? The title would be The Struggle is Real. The
Okay.
Struggle is Real. And what scene would be the important part is, there was one time, and, I'm embarrassed to say this, but there was one time where it was raining outside. Um, and I was so stressed out, just done with everything. And I remember looking up to the sky. I was on the deck, and I remember looking up to the sky, and I was kind of yelling and screaming at God. And I'm just like, why God? Why me? Of course, I started crying a little bit, and I had a breakdown. I was just breaking down because it had just been so hard. And I think this was probably around. I think this was very much right into it, like 2009, 2010, when not the pandemic. I'm sorry, the housing market crashed. Everyone blamed it on Obama. And so I think it was the first 2, 3 years when I was in business. Yeah, it was very tough. I was walking into something that I knew nothing about, but I thought I was prepared for, and I wasn't. And so, yeah, I think the one scene that I would want in that book is me with the rain coming down on me, wet shirt, crying, looking up at the sky, screaming at God. I think I would want that in there because I want people to realize how real it is. And I want people to realize that the struggle is real. And that when you have hard times like myself, even though I was looking up and screaming, I was still looking up.
That's good. So, you're going to be doing a documentary on yourself, right?
One of these
Because
days, I
what you
hope so. Yeah.
because what you just said, the struggle is real. There's a
The
lot of
struggle is
people
real.
out there, and the struggle is real.
The
You
struggle is
know,
real. Yeah.
it is real.
So if somebody wants to do a documentary on me, call me. I'm here. I'm ready. Let's do it.
I think they got AI now.
Yeah, right.
AI be able to help you out. You just talk into your little thing, and it's spit out a book, and that would take you
Exactly.
10 years. It'll take them maybe a year or
Maybe a
less.
year.
Who knows how that would go? So, lastly, what legacy are you hoping to leave, not just in business, but in how you help people get back up when they felt lost?
Um, I think I'd like to leave a legacy that of a person who was relentless, worked hard, um, tried to give back to as many people as possible. A person with an open heart, and I think I'm a very giving person. I like to say I'm a very giving person. I also like to have fun, so I'm a very adventurous person. So I want to be known as someone who was free spirited, and someone who really just grabbed life, um, the life that he was given, and just kind of grabbed life and just ran with it. And again, my journey is not over with yet, so I think this is just a beginning part of my legacy. But yeah, I just want to be known as someone who just grabbed the ball and ran. And I ran through a lot of hurdles, and this journey has been a very long journey, and I can't say I've walked this journey alone by myself, but most days it feels like it. But there are a lot of people along the way that I would want to include in part of this journey of mine and in part of this legacy of mine. And maybe someday we'll work on creating something going towards that legacy.
Well, that'd be nice. That'd be real nice. So you already started a legacy right now. You know,
Yes.
you're writing books. You started entrepreneur when you were little. You say you have three different businesses, all in the same area, like Triangle, like right across the street and next door. I mean,
Yeah, so the doggy daycare is Tiki's Playhouse. So it's in one house, right? So one side
hmm
of the house is the dog business, including the
hmm
outside yard. This side of the house here is the coffee shop slash bourbon bar. And then across the street, directly across the street, is the gym, American Fitness Express, that I own. So all three businesses are here, basically right in the same area here. And I've owned the gym for I want to say 11. I think 10 years. I've owned the gym for 10 years.
wow, trying to process that. That's almost like a little bit of heaven there, where you can go and work out, right? Still drop your dog off. Your dog, your pet can enjoy. When you're done, you can go next door, have some whiskey,
If you want, at 7 o'clock in the morning, I can sell from 6:30 to 2 a.m. So I would say coffee first, but I've had
coffee
people come
first.
in and ask for bourbon in their coffee
Yeah.
more than once.
Oh my goodness. You probably got to call that something, right?
Yeah,
Wow, you got
a
to
red
call
eye.
that something. Well, even after, people work at different hours of the day, but it's still that's a cool triangle. That's a cool
Yeah,
one.
it is, and it's worked
That
out
is
really well
great.
for me. It was an opportunity. One of the things I talk about in my book and my course is, it's an opportunity. The gym was an opportunity. I wasn't looking to own a gym, didn't want to necessarily own a gym, but it was an opportunity, and it came knocking. I took advantage of it, and at the time, I had the funds available to take advantage of it, and so I took advantage of it. And again, it was something that I didn't plan on owning a gym. I enjoyed working out at the gym. I mean, I still work out over there, and I used the place to shower over there. And so again, opportunity presented itself. My landlord owns that side of the building. He owns this side of the street here. And so I spoke with the landlord, and wham bam, here I am.
Wow, that's awesome. That is beyond awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have to how do if like for myself, okay, how do I get a hold of your books?
I have a website, kelvinabrams.com. And this would be the spelling of the name, kelvinabrams.com. I'm also on Amazon. I mean, if you just type in "get uncomfortable" or "change course," there's actually several outlets that you can purchase my book from. You can go directly to, again, kelvinabrams.com, or you can go to, let's see, Barnes and Noble. It's on, endless platforms. So I can't even begin to name them all. But if you
Okay.
pull up "get uncomfortable" or "change course," it'll be on the first two or three pages of Google. So easy to find.
Okay, and if somebody wanted to come out and visit and go to your coffee bourbon speakeasy.
We're in
So,
Glenelg, Maryland, which is Western Howard County, on 10 Oaks Road, 3830 10 Oaks Road. But it's just Western Howard County, Glenelg, Maryland. And if you can find Glenelg, Maryland, it's only about, a rock's throw distance, from one city to the next out here. So if you can find Glenelg, you're going to definitely run across me because, again, it's not that big out here. So, yeah, 10 Oaks Road in Glenelg, Maryland.
all right, and this is Cali Cat Tap Talks, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for
And
having me. I
cheers.
had a great time. Thank you.